Hey, hey! Welcome to another episode of Three Black Guys with the Mic. Today, we gonna educate you, baby. Mr. Jeff Dess and Lenny Williams from TrillOrNotTrill.com is in the building. Plus, we talk about Puerto Rico, Las Vegas, and much more on this episode of Three Black Guys with the Mic.
First of all, let me tell you something. Lamont is just full of
Sometimes my mama said, when you don't have nothing nice to say, you should be quiet.
People say that Stephen A. is a coon. You agree with that? Everybody got quiet on that one? Okay, Lamont, go ahead.
Rudy Giuliani practices voodoo. So he put a voodoo hex on my girl, Hillary, and that's why she got woozy. And the Secret Service had to prop her up and put her in the van.
But take us to a break, my dude.
It was voodoo, son.
I don't know about that voodoo.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Three Black Guys with a Mic.
Fellas, you ever be in a situation where you shave or you got a good haircut, you feel like you're really looking good, and then you recognize 2-3 days later you got a little irritation around the beard or the back of your neck? Those ingrown hairs will disrupt your sexiness. They can disrupt your swag. Not only do they look unsightly, they can be irritable. Bumpcology is here for you to save you from the unsightly, the unsexy, the swagger jacking bumps. Put a little Bumpcology serum on your face. The natural serum will help to heal that and bring the ingrown hair out. And as it continues to work on your skin, the hair will just fall out. All my life, my parents told me to put a little alcohol on it, put some witch hazel on it, put some Noxzema on your face. I never had an answer until now. Bumpcology.com. And right now, Bumpcology is running a special where they are trying to support the domestic violence initiatives. So go to their website, support the women. Also, there's another thing I want to mention. Ladies, there's nothing worse than shaving and getting that wonderful bikini wax or even Brazilian right before vacation and then finding out a day or two later that you have some unsightly ingrown hair bumps. Bumpcology for you too. Bumpcology serum. Go to bumpcology.com. BUMPCOLOGY.com.
Welcome to another episode of Three Black Guys with the Mic. Spud is here. Maynard is here. Lamont is here. And speaking of Bumpcology, we're honored to have Tiffany, the owner of Bumpcology, on kicking off the show with us. Tiffany, tell our listeners a little bit more about Bumpcology.
Thanks for having me on. Bumpcology is an ingrown serum. A little bit about what brought me to create it is that I'm a licensed esthetician. So I perform waxing services on people, and my clients were having difficulty with ingrowns. And what we was using wasn't working, so I started doing more research, learning more about product creation, and came up with this.
I heard you say about waxing, so I'm using it on my face. I'm not using it wrong because people are using it in other places.
So initially, it was for the core group of my largest demographic, which is female. I'm really excited to be partnered with the Joyful Heart Foundation. That's a nonprofit agency that was started by Mariska Hargitay. Some of us may know her through her work and on the television show Law and Order SVU. I believe it was in 2004 that she started that nonprofit, and it was inspired by the letters that she received from survivors of domestic violence and rape, just from her playing that role on the television show. So she felt compelled to do something. I got involved with that nonprofit agency in 2015. And then this past July, we partnered to do a special edition bottle for their nonprofit. We're $5 from the purchase of every bottle for the entire year.
So you're telling me that I can put a bottle of Bumpcology in my wife's bathroom and another bottle in my bathroom, and we'll both be okay with the razor bumps, her in the little private area, you know what I mean, and me with all over my face?
In your private area, your private area, too, Lamont.
No. I'm okay in my private area, Jim. I'm okay.
But so it was I originally created it for bikini waxing because that's what I do. So it's working really well for women. Really, really, really well. And the guys came along, I want to say maybe 2015. I kind of opened my eyes and were like, oh yeah, I guess other people can use it. But I was hardcore promoting it for bikinis and underarms because I'm a woman. I suffer from ingrown hairs really bad. And it's helped me. and it's helped so many other women. So yeah, it works for both.
Tiffany, let me ask you this question real quick. Can you make sure that you let people know the difference between what a serum is and what other bump products use in regards to alcohol, and why people should not be putting alcohol, one, in their private areas as well as on their face, and what the benefits of actually utilizing a serum is?
Okay, so for the most obvious reason, I wouldn't recommend putting alcohol near a mucous membrane because it burns. That's the first and foremost, most obvious reason. But alcohol, like isopropyl, so when we're talking about alcohol, I'm talking about isopropyl alcohol. It's used in products as a drying agent so that the product dries faster. But that can also be drying to your skin. And especially like for me as African American, I already battle with dry skin. So I don't need anything else that's going to dry my skin further than it already is. Like I have to put lotions and creams and things like that on myself anyway, just to keep moisture locked in my skin. So anything containing alcohol, I personally avoid. Before I knew about serums, I was using any alcohol-based product because that's what I was raised to do. Like, oh, you get an ingrown hair, you put alcohol on it, and I would get more. So what happens with the skin is your skin kind of freaks out if it feels like it's being dried out. So you'll produce more oil, which will cause more issues for you. So the difference with what I created is that the first ingredient in my product is water, which our skin needs. And then it's very hydrating. I use aloe and peppermint oils, and then gentle acids like lactic acid to just gently exfoliate the skin. So that's the difference. Mine is, it does the same thing, but it's a lot gentler. You don't have that like burn, and the results are, in my opinion, faster.
And Maynard, if you can, speak, because you've been using the product, and Tiffany, if you can add before we let you go, how long does it take before, one is starting to see some results?
I had literally on the back side of my neck, I had some bumps that were a little bit, I could feel them with my hand. And then, after about 4 or 5 days, I started to notice that they were getting smaller, and they were, in fact, I don't want to say they were getting drier. They were coming to a head. Does that make sense, Tiffany?
Yeah, because it's exfoliating and then the hair comes out.
Right. And, there's like, maybe there were 3 or 4 bumps, and now there's, 2 of them are just kind of gone, and it's the back of my neck, so I can't see them, but I can definitely feel them. And so I'm just going to continue to apply. And my anticipation is that, by the time I get my next haircut later this week, I should be all good again.
So that's Maynard's experience. That's awesome. Cool. Thank you. Typically, it works, I would say, within 24 to 48 hours, people start to get results, which is fairly fast given a skincare product because, as a rule, when you deal with skincare products, it could be anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months to get results. And that's normal across the board. Mm. So my product is a little faster acting, and that was very important to me.
Yeah. Like I said, after a couple of days, I started to notice that it was, it was improving. But, like I said, a week and a half later, I'm down to like just 2 little, things I can touch, and I anticipated to be gone. So Tiffany, tell us again where we can get it, where the site information, spell it out for us. And
okay, so it's available at bumpcology.com, and it's spelled BUMPCOLOGY.com.
Thank you so very much for, the time. We truly appreciate it. Bumpcology.com. That's BUMPCOLOGY, because it's another bumpology out there, and it's easy for you to actually get directed to that site. So make sure you put the C in there. It's bumpcology.com, not bumpology.com. We want to make sure that you're going to the right website and make sure that you actually, order a bottle. Thank you so very much, Tiffany. We appreciate it, love.
All right, thank you, guys.
So, ladies, fellas, you heard Tiffany. Bumpcology is where you want to be. Thank you so very much, Tiffany, for sponsoring 3 Black Guys with the Mic. As you can see, Maynard has been using it. It's been getting him some results on his face. Ladies, as you heard Tiffany, it's good for your underarms. It's good for your bikini area. We want to eliminate the ingrown hairs on your body. Stop using alcohol on your skin and use a serum. A serum is better for your body, doesn't dry your skin out. So go to Bumpcology, BUMPCOLOGY.com. Order a bottle right now. And when you purchase a bottle of Bumpcology, $5 of your purchase is going to help women who've been victims of domestic violence. Right now, Mr. Jeff Dess and Lenny Williams from TrillOrNotTrill.com is on the line. Fellas, what's good?
What's going on, everybody?
What's happening?
All right.
So, gentlemen, let everybody know exactly what Trill or Not Trill is.
All right, so Trill or Not Trill, it's simple. Well, Trill came from, Pimp C, Bun B, Truth and Real put together. And Jeff was on Facebook, and he was putting up random news articles and things like that. And he would ask his Facebook friends, what is Trill or Not Trill? And then, Jeff, I guess you could jump in right there.
Yeah, I think from there, it turned from the hashtag, and I asked everybody if they wanted to read a blog where I would just talk about education and my own musings, and I would call it Trill or Not Trill. That same day that, Facebook, how Facebook friends reacting, yeah, no doubt, we'll do it, and then 3 people read it. So, I was a little apprehensive at first, but we dropped it. I dropped the blog, and the first blog post went really well, and it was a blog post about what's the movie? What's the Ice Cube joint? Straight Outta Compton, right? So they were like, I wasn't allowed to go to Straight Outta Compton because I forgot my ID. And the movie theater was acting real funky, so they didn't let me in. So then I wrote a post about it, and it did like 1,000 views, and people were reading it, and it got reshared and all this other thing. And that same day, I had a meeting with Lenny, and I told him about this blog idea, and I said, listen, let's maybe put our brands together and turn this into more education than anything. So, we both are public speakers. We both are educators. We've both been and are faculty members. And so we decided to put our brands together, put our egos aside, and create Trill or Not Trill, and not just have it be a blog, but transform from a blog to an educational platform where we do everything from public speaking to training to consultation to curriculum development and so much more. And primarily, though, what we do is from an educational and leadership standpoint, we bridge the gap between current culture and student development and leadership. So we can talk about anything from Drake to LeBron's tweets to the president of the United States, and mix that back into things like public speaking and leadership development and conversations on masculinity and cultural competency. So we're like, we're educators who are cool too. You know what I'm saying? So like, we're listening to Bodak Yellow. We're listening to that 444 album. We're arguing over, LeBron versus Kevin Durant. And we're also having conversations about like curriculum development and leadership models. So it's just about, bringing education into this forefront where people can, be on podcasts like this and just have like dope conversations, but also be, super smart. Cause I think that's what happens. That sometimes you think that just because you're smart or just because you're educated, you can't be popping to it. We're just trying to, debunk that myth.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel like that was a little bit of a nod to me.
Whoa, man. This is not about Maynard skills and educational background. This is about how these two brothers are bridging the gap between hip hop, education, inspiration, that kind of thing. What you do, that ain't it, Maynard. Not at all. I'm
not bridging the gap.
You're not bridging no gap. Your gap stops in 1986. Okay?
Man.
Golden age of hip hop. So listen, first, so back up, because we've heard a lot of things about what you do and kind of a little bit about who you are, but as educators, tell us a little bit, give us some of the backstory. Where'd you go to school, and what made you want to go into education?
For me, so this is Lenny. For me, I went to New Jersey City University for my bachelor's in business management, and I always wanted to work corporate or start a business. I didn't want to be a teacher, but then I went to corporate. I didn't really like it too much, and I didn't really like school too much. Period. Growing up, I was really into sports, and I just did the bare minimum to get to college. But then I realized that school is really important. Not only is it important, but everything around us is education. So then I went back and got my master's degree, and I decided to start working in higher education, and I wanted to become a professor. But then once I said I wanted to become a professor, I wanted to teach students how education can be cool. and that education doesn't have to be taught in the way it has been taught for so many years. There's so many different ways and variations and creativity to make it where it's always to the student's pulse at the given time. So that's one of the reasons why I went back into education. And I also wanted people to see that there are cool African Americans and people of color within education and within these spaces that can help students that look like me that don't believe they can get there. You know, I always tell people I never had a black male teacher until I got to college. So, you know, for me to go out there and be an educator and then also talk to you about Yeezys or Migos and sports and be relatable to the students is something that really drove me to stay in education.
Yeah, and I went to St. John's University in New York, and I got a bachelor's and a master's degree in English literature, and I thought that, you know, at the time, I thought I was going to be the next great rapper. I swore I was like going to be Nas or something, and I didn't think school was going to be it, but I kept going to school because, you know, I got options and opportunities, and I quit rapping because grad school got in the way, so I chose grad school instead of a hip hop career. And I thought I was going to be this next great spoken word poet. And that didn't really pan out in the way that I wanted it to either. So from that point of view, you know, for me as a college student, and I tell all the college students the same thing, I went on to become a student leader. So I was like in student government. I was president of our Black Student Union. I was an orientation leader. I did every type of leadership position possible. And that kind of opened up my look into higher education, so like student affairs. So after grad school, I got a job working as a hall director. So I was in charge of a dorm building and a residence hall, and I started working in all those fields. And now, I'm at New Jersey City University where I met Lenny, and I'm doing activities. So I'm bringing in speakers. I'm taking education from a different perspective. But, you know, I grew up in a Haitian household where, you know, I knew I was going to college from like age 5. It wasn't even an option. So it was like, you got to go to school. So for me, it's an interesting way to take it where, you know, I've taught English and writing and all these other creative writing courses and things of that nature. But just being able to always figure out, to me, how do I continue to be a rapper and a poet and somebody who talks a lot? You know, if anybody knows me, y'all may get to know me. And maybe my answers are saying this, but I talk a lot. So it's always like, how do I figure out how to put all of this together? And,
now, Jeff,
yeah.
we got to get you on wax, homie. I mean, St. John's has produced one of the legendary hip hop rhymers of all time.
Here we go.
Yeah, you know,
here we go. Maynard.
Let Jeff finish.
Cole and I went to school together. I don't know if that's who you're talking about, but me and J. Cole went to college.
We wish he was talking about Cole, Jeff, but he is not. Unfortunately,
he's not. We said that everything that Maynard does or talks about in terms of hip hop is 1985 and back. You know what I'm saying? Nothing post 1986. You know what I'm saying?
So we're talking about DMC.
Legendary the king of rock.
See what I'm saying? Here we go. So Maynard. So can I ask a question now? Because you're getting ready to take us down this rabbit hole.
No, I'm not. We just needed to mention. Why are you trying to make? Listen, you trying to make Spud right? Don't, man. Let's you and I unify. Make Spud wrong. Okay. Hey, Lamont, man, go ahead, jump in and ask a question, my dude.
Okay, so Jeff, here's and Lenny. This is one of the we talk a lot about hip hop and politics, amongst a lot of other things, popular culture on this podcast. We do a lot of conversation about Cardi B. We do a lot of conversation about Donald Trump. How do you, when you're in front of a student environment, in an educational environment, and these students are seeing the way that Donald Trump moves and, the way Cardi B used to move, she moves a little different now. Like, how do you, because in my opinion, a lot of their movement is not productive. You know what I mean? And when I say it wasn't, Cardi B's a little different now, but I'm talking Love and Hip Hop Cardi B. We're talking Cardi B not with the most clothes on her body. We're talking about Donald Trump, just grabbing people by the crotch. I mean, these are young minds that are taking this kind of stuff in. How do you guys address that kind of behavior?
Yeah, I mean, in a few ways, right? So those students need direction. So like, I look at Cardi B and I look at Donald Trump as people who were student leaders, who were students who needed some mentoring, who needed some guidance, who needed some leadership skills. Because the thing that Donald Trump and Cardi B both show us is that they have these personalities that are magnetic to a certain audience, right? So the thing is like, how do you turn that magnetism into actual leadership skills? And I think that's where it is, right? I think that when you look at Donald Trump, is that, you know, if he was somebody that was 18 years old, I'd have to sit him down and say, like, listen, you have this ability to be dope, but right now, like, you're wilding out. So here's how we're going to break it down. So you know what, your public speaking should be looking from this perspective. And you know what, instead of being so brash and aggressive, maybe you should look at that as being a little less brash and a little bit more confident, a little bit more direct in how you approach different audiences. And we just recently talked about Cardi B on our blog, where there's a lot of like young girls and young people who are, you know, regular schmegular, as she calls herself, and they just don't get it. They don't get it because there's not somebody who can help guide that specific niche ability that they have to gravitate to people. And that's something that a lot of people don't have, like that natural ability to be that person that everyone wants to be around, or people want to sit down and listen to you. So the thing is like, you know, if we can get that person that has that skill set, then now let's just change that and give them the right tool that they need to turn it into something that is going to be really positive and beneficial to the community. I'm sure that amongst the three of y'all, there was one of y'all that's like really, you know, that can gravitate, you know, that the people gravitate to. And, you know, somebody at one point helped y'all turn that into, you know, a poppin' podcast or whatever, you know, all the great work that you're doing before. And that's all it is. So I think that from a leadership standpoint, from an education standpoint, we have to be able to look at that from that perspective. And I know Lenny just taught Cardi B in the class, I think, right?
So I mean, another thing is like, we can't, our thing is that, and that's what what they did in school. What I hated in K through 12 when I was in school was like when things happen or when reality happened, if you brought up to your teacher, it was like a slap on the hand. Like, we don't want to hear about that in class. But we know now with social media and everything else, we can't hide certain things from students. So why not take that stuff and deconstruct it into educational lessons? And that's one of the things that we do. And I mean, like, even for Cardi B, for example, you know, we was talking about the BCG matrix in my marketing class on the Boston Consultant Group Matrix. And we used Cardi B to explain examples of the BCG matrix, and students enjoyed it. And then we also use examples of Target and Macy's and the traditional way of learning as well. So it's just ways of, you know, not suppressing some of the things that they see on TV or within pop culture, because it's around us 24/7. And, you know, in order to notice the pulse of your students, you have to know that, but then also take that and turn it into learning lessons as well.
Okay, Maynard, I need some help. What's a BC? What did he just say, Maynard?
BCG matrix.
What is that?
Yeah. So go ahead.
So it's mixed. It's a mix of 4 parts: dog, star, cash cow. You ever heard of that? No.
Spud, come on! Don't leave me out here by myself, Spud. Spud, come on!
So,
Spud, come on, Spud.
When you start considering, Lamont, you already doing this. You already are thinking about your long-term planning and how you gonna put your money, how you gonna make your purchases, how you gonna guide your life. And if, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, this helps. You know, first of all, the intricacies of the matrix are relatively simple. Like, yo, is this going to be valuable to me? How much it is? How high that value is? Therefore, I should essentially invest or purchase or save or whatever the case may be based on that. But it's a guiding principle for really just not blowing it.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only person that had no idea what that matrix.
I mean, he talks about it to me all the time, but I'm still clueless on it every now and then. So you're not on your own there.
Thank you, brother. And I know there are people that are listening. They're writing some of the stuff down, and it was like they say BCBG, and I'm like, the girl's like, yeah, I used to wear BCBG. You know what I'm saying? I said, no, I don't think that's it. That's it. Well, again, like I said, we do a lot of Cardi B talk, you know, because I was accused of being, you know, the big Cardi B hater, you know, on the podcast, you know, because Spud was like the head fan club, you know, he was a fanboy North America chapter of Cardi B, and he kind of proved me wrong when she was able to do a lot of the comments, which again, I'm very proud of her, but I've seen again some of the progression and even, quite a few clothes that she wears now. So again, I was just kind of wondering, even when you have these kind of talks with the young people, do they see that transformation as well?
Yeah, well, some of them don't and some of them do, and that's our job, right? So I think that's the thing that educators just can't be afraid to point out the flaws. Like keeping 100 with them and say, like, listen, if Cardi B wasn't making records and you were just out there doing this on social media, you're not going to get the Cardi B recognition. They're going to not hire you in your jobs, and your professors are going to judge you in your classrooms, and people are going to look at you in a particular way. So if you are trying to be Cardi B and you're going down the same path, I'm going to let you know that judgment is coming, whether it's warranted or not. But so we let them know real easily about the flaws, but we also let them know that we're not like new on Cardi B either. Like we were aware of Cardi B on Love and Hip Hop. We were aware of her on Instagram. We were aware of her as her role as an exotic dancer. So we saw all of that, and we understand all of that. So we can talk to them. It's like, when you talk to kids or students and you're talking about, that's on fleek, and they know that you front end. Like, don't say that. You know what I mean? I'm just heads up to anybody who's still saying on fleek, stop. You know what I mean? So that's just showing you like there's this authenticity that has to come with it. So we recognize that very clearly. Like we're not just going to be in here talking about all we know about Cardi B's Bodak Yellow, but we're going to let you know, like we also recognize who she was before, but we also can point out what these flaws were in her rise, and we can also show the beauty in her rise as well. So let's talk about both sides of the coin.
So, and just to really bring it home for Lamont on the BCG, because you do this all the time. We do this all the time. So-and-so was a little bit, I ain't feeling so-and-so. It was Nikki. And we were like, Remy bodied her. And Lamont, your basic point was, hold on. Let me finish so I can help you bring this.
You are embarrassing yourself.
My dude, let me finish this to bring it home for you in another way. Your response essentially is, a hit record's going to solve a lot of that. And Nikki had a hit record and a lot of it got solved. So, is Nikki in the scenario where, there's a long-term investment that's going to pay off, or is it not going to pay off? And because it paid off, we kind of got to a space where Nikki was able to shut that down and continue to be profitable. Therefore, the record company is going to continue to invest. On the other hand, if somebody doesn't pay off,
well, it's like El Cool J, right? Like, El Cool J, I don't think won the battle lyrically against Cinnabis years ago, but and ultimately, man, he was able to have the more long-term presence and money-making ability, and it's a wrap for cannabis. Same thing with Drake and Meek Mill, you know what I mean? So absolutely, like you could drop a hit, and it's that hit. I mean, I don't care what I never thought that could happen like that, but it happens all the time.
So one question I got, and you guys are interfacing with young people on a regular basis, and you are taking a unique approach to the classroom and in the educational environment. What are you seeing from your interface and your time with them? What are you seeing that they need most, particularly from Black men? What can Black men do to play a better role in the lives of young people that are not necessarily our own children?
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Lenny.
I think one of the most important things is for us to listen more. Nothing upsets me more than when somebody that's older will say, "Oh, these young kids, man, they're lost." I'm with students all the time from all over the country. I kind of disagree. Like, I don't feel like all students are lost. A lot of students are more, to be honest, as they would say, more woke than ever. There's a lot of students now I'm seeing that want to be, I used to ask students maybe 5 years ago what they wanted to be. And a lot of them were not saying things like political science. People weren't saying things like attorney, lawyer. They're starting to see what's happening on TV, and they're starting to say, I want to get more involved. I didn't hear things like, I want to get involved with social justice. Like, these things weren't said 5 years ago. So what I need for the older generation to do is listen and give these students a chance. I feel like a lot of times, because they didn't look like how we looked when we were younger, or they didn't act the way we acted when we were younger, that we automatically put them in this box. But I think that we need to be able to extend that hand and say, listen, I want to hear what you want to do and what you're looking to do before I speak first. And then once I speak, I'm going to tell you what it is because I got an older perspective on it.
Yeah, and I think that, in my opinion, I think black men can, we got to check our privilege at the door. You know what I mean? I think that that's one of the biggest things that all people who have privilege, they have to recognize that you can't, exert that when you're trying to communicate with anyone, let alone younger folks. So, whether your privilege is, black men towards black women, or your privilege is older black man to younger black man, when you start using your privilege as your defense mechanism or as this, high horse that you're sitting on, you are detrimental to the community and they're not listening to you. So, it becomes a little dangerous. But in the same regards, we have to also, as we are checking our privilege, we have to also recognize, how dope we are too. So, that's another thing too. So it's like, yeah, you have to check your privilege, but also don't forget how dope you can really be, as brothers. And it's something that, we whether for good or not, we are dictating a lot of how things are happening culturally. Like a lot of the decisions that black men make help determine a lot of the way that decisions are being made culturally and socially. So we have to also, recognize that. So finding the balance where we're not, sleeping on top of this mattress of privilege, but we're also, shining and being proud of how dope we are. People love that. Our students love that.
So explain to me how the programs work in regards to the conversation in regards to the students. So when you have, a program that's the 9 laws of Trill or turning criticism into success or into greatness, how does that work? How does, the programs actually work with the students?
Great question. So it's kind of 3 components. So we do keynote speeches. So we have keynotes where we go in front of a large audience for 45 minutes to maybe an hour at most, and we just deliver a keynote speech where we break down specific large-scale leadership conversations. So there's that piece. And then there's a workshop. So we have a lot of workshops where we have more close-knit person-to-person contact where we're leading and giving specific skill sets. They're usually smaller audiences where we have activities and high energy programs that are going all within that workshop. So that's where you learn about your public speaking and your specific soft skills and leadership skills. And then our third thing, which is something I think that really sets us apart, is what we have called alternative turn-ups. So the alternative turn-ups is where we bring more of a social experience and add just sprinkles of diversity and cultural competency and leadership into it. So we'll have a leadership day party where we'll bring the concept of a day party to a campus, but within it, we'll have micro speeches, we'll have networking activities, but we'll still have a DJ, live music that's popping. We do another program called the Sister Cypher where we bring all women MCs to the table and they just are rapping, but then they also open up and have a conversation and a dialogue about women in hip hop and women's roles. So we bring in women executives and women DJs and things of that nature. So we have these different alternative events that are turn-ups, but they're also these educational components. So all 3 of those are kind of our 3 waves that we do right now.
So you take these programs and these conversations to college campuses or wherever anyone invites you?
Primarily it's college campuses, but anywhere people invite us. So it could be a discussion about, women's. It could be Women's Month, for example. So a college could bring us in, or organization could bring us in to do Sister Cypher. So it depends, but primarily higher education.
And
we've also done it with.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've also done it in other spaces too. Like we just recently, or not recently, last year, we had a really successful event where we brought in not just college students, but other people, older people, where we had a Solange listening party where we listened to the album and we had questions and activities all around it. So it was you were chilling, listening to Solange, dropping the music, and in the same regards, we're having actual intellectual conversations and questions about it as well. So it was all different types of ages and markets.
And so from the student perspective or the person who's attending, what is, the takeaway? What do they take away from this particular, sisters, cipher, or either your Kevin Durant conversation or either your Cardi B conversation? What do they take away from that perspective? Because I love the, disrupting education and leadership, because it sounds to me, and this is kind of where I'm going with it, as if you are removing the traditional way of, the way people are learning and actually providing new ways of meeting the student where they are.
That's exactly what it is. So, for example, when you talk about the Kevin Durant, and it's not even just the students, it's also it's the students as well as the administrators. So the administrators can understand the pulse of their students as well. So we'll flip Kevin Durant, which to some students will look at it where, oh, Kevin Durant just got traded, this, that, and the third. But an administrator at a school might look at it like, wow, some of our students transfer from our school to competing schools. How can we stop that? Right? So we talk in their language. We talk on what's going on right now, and we just turn it to education. So it's exactly what you're saying, And if there's a discussion, let's say, typically a school would say, oh, we do a program called Public Speaking 101. Instead of doing Public Speaking 101, we might do something where it's things that Donald Trump can teach you about public speaking, or things that Kanye West can teach you about public speaking. We add a little twist to it and meet the students where they are.
And because I saw Cardi B's, speaking of Cardi B, I saw her, thing on Revolt the other day, and one of the teachers was on that documentary or special, basically saying that she utilizes hip hop music to kind of educate her students, because that's where they can really they can understand, they can relate. They can't relate to some of the traditional ways of learning. And that's the reason why I asked that, because and what the effect was, because it's good to be able to utilize the reverse psychology in it of saying, okay, this is what Donald Trump can teach you about public speaking. I mean, that's something that I would want to attend rather than Public Speaking 101, right? Where you basically are thinking like you're going to sit in the classroom for 16 weeks and it's going to be boring as hell.
Exactly.
That's dope.
Yeah. I mean, we don't we're not rapping like the teachers do. Like some teachers, I'm always amazed by some of them who do that, who just will turn a Cardi B song into a geography lesson. And that's super dope. That's a little bit different than what we do, where we integrate it just a little bit differently. So we want to be able to make sure that we have specific learning outcomes in everything that we do. We're very heavily research-based in all of our programs and all of our events. So just because, that's another thing too, and I don't know if it's just because from a younger perspective, a black male perspective, is that, whenever you come from these disruptive type of mindsets, somebody's always trying to check you, and somebody's always trying to say, oh, here they go with that rap again, here they go with that whatever again. And I'm always like, also, please make sure you check out all of our empirical data at the end of all of our workshops, where we cited, these 13 different articles and databases that you are using in your content as well. So, that's one of those things, like that hip hop athlete machismo in me, where it's just like, don't get it twisted. Like, I'm still from Queens. And if you try and check me, we're going to check you right back. But we're going to check you with some intellectual data and background, along with just being cooler than you at the same time. And that's the mindset that we go into, where we want to be able to change lives from that perspective. We're like, we want to be amongst the smartest people in the room, and we want to be amongst the most culturally competent people in the room too.
Yeah, I'm glad, and leading back to, Maynard's, point about, how do we get involved? Because is this something that you are able to take to other universities and campuses? And, because it seems as if hip hop is becoming a lot more receptive to universities. And NYU, Outkast has a, course at Georgia University, so it's not that, colleges are not being receptive, but how do you spread this out to more colleges across the country?
Being on podcasts like this is a start, where we're able to really reach out to different audiences who are maybe not, in our traditional ear view. So, we may not be reaching your audience. And so just being able to have really dope conversations with other people who are trying to have, really cool dialogue. So for us, it's that space. And then also, through our website, we're constantly trying to improve, and we want to reach as many different colleges and universities. And that's another thing that both Lenny and I do, is that, we travel to a number of different universities. And you know, we want to just always promote that we're more than just hip hop, because that's another thing too, I think, is that when you have two black men in the room, they automatically equate us with hip hop, which is understandable. But, you know, we're also watching Game of Thrones, and we're also talking about, you know, Willy Wonka or Beyonce or the things that your particular student audience are talking about. So, you know, we're all about those different areas. So just being able to really show our diversity and going to as many different conferences and opportunities. But on the smaller level, it's really just, you know, being able to put ourselves in these spaces that are not traditionally deemed educational. So your podcast, for example, is one of those great spaces where people may not necessarily look at it as like, this is the educational space, when it absolutely is. And we want to let them know, like, yeah, we can sit down and name our top 5 rappers, and also, you know, we can also name our top 5 authors and top 5 professors and intellects and scholars and, you know, and basketball players all in the same breath. So, you know, just continuing to really push the envelope and the dialogue on what it means to be, you know, a swaggy educator.
Yo, I think that's amazing. I really appreciate you guys for coming on. And we are looking forward to, I'm just going to speak it into existence. We're looking forward to a Trill Not Trill, 3 black guys mashup at some point. Is that right?
That's happening. That's
I love it. I love it. Yo, so tell us again the website and what people should expect when they come there. Well, tell us the website, the web address, and then, you know, and any other, you know, social media.
So the website is trillornottrill.com, all one word, of course. You can find us on Instagram and pretty much all the social media networks at trillornottrill.com. We both have personal social media handles. So mine is Professor.Williams and Jeff is Mr. Jeff Dess. Yeah, check us out.
Excellent. Thanks again, gentlemen. We appreciate it. Y'all know what's up. Trillornottrill.com. Visit them. Check it out. It's very important.
Before we go, I think, you know, you asked Jeff to spit some bars.
Whoa! Jeff, you on the spot, baby?
Damn,
you on the spot. Let's go.
Let's see. Yo, so I was born in the era when crack was attacking blacks, rap on the map, and I quickly adapted to that. Hat to the back, was cool in the city schools, nothing tougher than T&I, pity the fools, overzealous storytellers reciting they bars, out of this world like Spike when he was Mars, was going far in the Boston across colors, and Mike Tyson was still nicer than all the others. It was a time when Buster was rah-rahing and Air Jordan was scoring often versus Boston. Satisfaction in the way the Jacksons acted. Same act that a crackhead but still made it happen. My versatile flow is like Jesse, Michael, and Bo. So you know that I must be hot. Words paint the canvas like I'm Basquiat. Now tell me now you ready or not. It's a new generation. I ain't ready to stop. So I spit a quick 16. You know it wasn't written, but now I'm coming through off the top of the dome. I'm hitting. I just want to say thank you and I'm fly. Shout out to all of the 3 dope black guys. I know that's not the name of the podcast. I might have said it wrong, but listen, we could do this thing all night long. You know what I mean? So we just, you know, thank y'all, man.
My man, thank you, thank you.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for having us, man. This is y'all doing that work, man.
Yo, I appreciate it, man. Be good, be blessed.
All right,
brothers. Thank y'all.
All right, thanks. All right.
Today is the day to treat yourself and not cheat yourself. I'm talking about Wendy's 4 for $4. We talk about getting yourself fresh food in your body, not frozen food, fresh food in your body. That is what it's all about. Eating good, eating juicy, eating healthy. Not all that frozen food. Putting all that frozen food in your body, not a good look for you. So, grab yourself a Wendy's 4 for $4. A choice of a junior bacon cheeseburger or a crispy chicken BLT. Plus 4-piece nuggets, small fry, and a drink. All for only $4. It's always fresh, never frozen, at a participating Wendy's for a limited time. Offer not valid in Alaska and Hawaii. Now, back to the show.
I was reading my Bloomberg Market Watch the other day, right? Did you not know that before the hurricane hit, that the island of Puerto Rico is $74 billion in debt? And estimated that hurricane tacked on like another $30 billion. But they about $100 billion in a hole over there, bro. So in the big scheme of things, I'm down with the jet and the Pampers and the toilet wipes and all other kind of stuff. But even when they get it to halfway the normals that they had, bro, they still 75 to 80 billion in the hole, bro.
But you know what? I think the trick is, ain't the bankruptcy court in the world ain't going to let them, you know, go and tell them you can't file. I mean, Not at this point. This might. I mean, on the low, there's death and devastation, but this might be the like, hey, look, come on, because for a while they were giving them a hard time about considering about defaulting on the debt.
Right.
And
That's
now is there's no way around it. I mean, there's no way around it.
We're just gonna say it's okay, cool. Let's just go ahead and open up the rich back up.
Well, let me see. It happened for Donald Trump 6 times.
Yeah, but was he 74 B's in the hole?
No, but he was at least several million or 100 million. I mean, that was one person. You talking about 4.5 or 3.5 million. So I mean, if you add it all up, I mean, it's all in proportion.
I'm just saying, man, Puerto Rico as a whole is in a bad place. And I'm with you with the death and devastation. I get it. I get the certain basic life. When you start to really break it down, and I looked at it and how they broke it all the way down, how they just been in trouble for a long time. Oof.
But you know what? That doesn't matter. And
I cannot tell Capital One that. It just doesn't matter.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you what. Let's start with this.
What?
There's 3.5 million people in Puerto Rico. They're American citizens. That's A. B.
But they can't vote. And that's the part I don't understand. They can't vote, though.
They can't vote. They can't vote while they're on the island. If they establish an address on the mainland, they can vote all they want.
Right.
All right. The next thing here is, America as a nation has used Puerto Rico and pimped Puerto Rico out, if you will.
Yes.
And like, hey, we don't want y'all to be a state, but we ain't gonna let y'all do your own thing. Right. You see what I'm saying? Then the other thing is, and we have to take ownership of it, because a lot of Black people do this as well. We practice in Puerto Rico, in Antigua, Aruba, so many West Indian, Caribbean, or Greater Antilles nations, apartheid. Every time when you go on vacation and you go to a Sandals or you go to a beaches resort, that's essentially a slight nod to apartheid, because a lot of those people who work at those resorts, they're not allowed to come into. Look, if you ain't at work, then we don't want you in this community.
But
so stay out.
Apartheid, man. That's a little harsh.
No, it's
that
not.
Might be a little bit.
Look, so I went to Aruba in 2001. I went down to Aruba and I saw all the beautiful people, and I recognized that when the people who were from the island wanted to go into the resort community, they were basically the let's call them, people who the natives. They were shunned from being in. If they weren't working, they were told, no, we don't want you in the resort area. We don't want our good people coming from spending that American money or that European money, whatever it may be, to see you all unless you're working. And that was a big component. That was a big component of apartheid in South Africa.
No, I thought the basis of apartheid was based upon race. No,
it can be based upon anything. Theoretically speaking, it can be based on sex. I don't want to see any women in this neighborhood unless they are serving men. If you're not serving men and you're off, you can't shop here, you can't party here, you can't live here. Go back to where where the area that we've cordoned off for you. And when you're needed, we will let you come in. When you're not needed, we'll send you back. Remember in movies like Cry Freedom or what have you, the scenes where people had to show their papers to go into the city. It's a similar concept.
I hear where you're going. Again, I had the understanding, and of course, I just made sure I had the definition correct, that apartheid was a political system based upon discrimination on the grounds of race. So, like what you're talking about is economics of what you may have experienced at a Sandals or a lot of those resorts or whatever. I don't think it was about race.
Well, listen. Apartheid doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be about race. It's not necessarily race. Isms are isms, right? So sexism or racism or ageism is a discrimination. That discrimination, and being able to systematically discriminate against people and oppress them in such a way based on a characteristic. Maybe that characteristic is that they're black or that they're white or that they're, Hispanic, or maybe the characteristic is that they are women, or maybe the characteristic is that they're gay, or whatever the case may be. So there's a discrimination, and then to use that discrimination to systematically oppress them. So the people of that island are, for the most part, of an ethnicity. They're going to be from Aruba. They may, in fact, be dark skinned or light skinned, but they're from Aruba. And if they are prevented from being able to participate in the liberty of the entire island based on the fact that they are from Aruba and they're from they're the natives of the island, that's still apartheid.
Okay, I'm gonna give you that one. You don't get a full W, you get like a half of a W. Give you a V, okay?
Whatever, man.
Okay.
I get a single U, not a W.
No, you get a V. A V.
I get a triple U, my dude. That's a triple U.
You get a V, my man. You don't get the W. You just get the V.
Yo, Puerto Rico, let me say this real quick. We had this shooting in Vegas. I'm gonna tie this to Puerto Rico real simple. We had the shooting in Vegas. We had shootings in other places. And every time a shooting like this happens, typically people who on the left, liberals, Democrats, progressives, say it's time for us to have a discussion about gun control. And typically people on the right, the NRA, the GOP, Republicans, conservatives, always say, now is not the time to politicize this issue. And we get shouted down, those of us on the left who want to talk about common sense gun control, because now is not the time to politicize this issue. There are people hurting. There are people who have lost loved ones. We don't want to turn this into politics. But when this storm hit Puerto Rico, the first tweet that Donald Trump had put out there spoke to, Puerto Rico's infrastructure was bad and they owe billions and it's all these things that were politicizing the issue, while 3.5 million people suffered through a storm, a Category 5. Now is not the time to politicize this issue, Donald Trump. Now is the time to put all of the forces of the United States government, FEMA, our military, whatever it takes to rescue 3.5 million American citizens. Shame on you. It's despicable to politicize this issue. And it is clearly driven by the fact that, Black and brown people aren't important enough. Where's Kanye West when you need him?
Yeah, but that's obvious though, right? Or is this a black and brown thing? Or is this going back to your original point? Is this an economic or Lamont's point of, or is this economics though?
So if the island is going to file bankruptcy, or if the island is near bankruptcy and they're poor and there's 3.5 million Americans, should we just say, poor anyway, just let them all die?
No, no, of course not. From a, from a liberal, it seems to me like this, right? And you're smarter than me in the politics world, right? In regards to the left and the right, the left is always about more on emotion, right? We're all about we the Captain Save-A-Hose. The right is, where is the money? How does this affect us economically? How can I get rich off of this? How can I get paid off of this? Or how can I save money in regards to this situation? So if you look at it from the right perspective, it's about economics, right? If you look from the president perspective, right, who's tweeting about the NFL, Colin Kaepernick, well, let me just say the NFL, Jerry Jones, and all these other different NFL players that are kneeling and isn't saying anything about Puerto Rico, but then goes after, the mayor of Puerto Rico. Do they care? Is it economics or? But if Barack Obama was in that situation, he would have a lot more compassion, right?
Well, I think I think people have compassion for who they want to have compassion for, because there was no shortage of compassion, and this is Americans in general. There was no shortage of compassion when the Charlie Hebdo case occurred, the terrorism attacks in France. In fact, that was during the Barack Obama administration. In fact, Donald Trump stated they're killing us, and Barack Obama is letting it happen. They're killing us. Last time I checked, Barack Obama wasn't the president of France at the time. When it happened in Spain, the people around America changed their Facebook page. We pray for Spain. We pray for France. We praying for England. We need to be praying for Puerto Rico. There was a whole, even my man, Mr. McRib himself, Kevin Hart, after Harvey came out, we need to get $25,000 for all these people. I'm challenging you. There is no, and everybody worked on emotion for that. Think about it.
Yeah, but you pointed out a bunch of people who weren't Republican, though.
Well, okay, fine. The ice bucket challenge went viral, went crazy. People were dumping ice on their heads all around, both parties. All three, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, or independent, if you were left, right, or in the middle, people were dumping ice on their heads all around the world. All around the world. We had a lot of compassion for the ice bucket challenge for ALS. There's 3.5 million Americans there. Nobody is dumping ice on their head for Puerto Rico. Nobody is, changing their Facebook page, their picture to pray for Puerto Rico.
But man, I think you dodging me a little bit, because
I'm not dodging.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah. I understand what you're saying, but again, let's go back to economics in regards to your point in regards to liberals and conservatives. Let's go back to Democrat and Republican, right? Yes. Jennifer Lopez, Democrat, pray for Puerto Rico, even though she has ties there. Fat Joe, Jay-Z, who just sent a jet out there, Pitbull, right? I mean, these are the people that you're, identifying in regards to the cause of the situation. But let's talk about Republicans. Republicans in this situation, from a Donald Trump perspective, do they not care? And to your point, which is that there's no, pray for Puerto Rico tweets going on. I mean, I know he did one tweet, but there's no pray for Puerto Rico in this situation from the right, because, in my opinion, and this is what I'm asking you, does it have to do with economics? Because they are in debt, and because they are a poor country, do they not give a fuck? Or care? I'm sorry.
They don't care because just like Cat Williams said in that really funny stand-up, he said they changed the names of Iraqis to insurgents. And I said, I don't have no insurgent friends. You can kill all of them insurgents. I don't care. And this is how you know, because you said something about emotion. Like, they're not emotional. They think with their wallet. They think with their pocketbook. Until you say, we're not going to stand for the pledge. All of a sudden, you got people out there burning up NFL team hats and crying and saluting the flag. And the old man is standing in his backyard with the flag, and he's crying and he's saluting it and playing the national anthem in the background. There's emotion for what you want to be emotional for. And these and people have chosen to say, people have mused in public. Officials have, people in the government have, people who are smart individuals have mused in public that Puerto Rico, are those Americans? Why are we concerned? Is that I didn't know they were American territory. So it's about the fact that there are people saying to themselves, they don't look like me. Oh, they're Spanish, therefore they must be Mexican or Guatemalan, or they're not Americans at the very least. Yes, they're American citizens. And if they are in debt or not, that has nothing to do with saying we are going to look out for it. I mean, imagine this. If you are just poor and a storm is trying to kill you, the president would say, well, you're poor, or you're different, or you're just not important enough for me to come to your rescue. Because don't make no mistake, there are lots of poor people in Houston. There are lots of poor people in Louisiana. There are lots of poor people in the Gulf Coast side of Florida, the west coast of Florida. Lots of poor people. Joe Scarborough calls that the redneck Riviera. That's what Joe Scarborough, because that's his where he came from. That's where he was a congressman from. So when we typically think of the word redneck and the redneck Riviera, we don't think of very exclusive neighborhoods and very extremely wealthy people. But we didn't have any compunction, no hesitation on rescuing those individuals. We've got to rescue, we have got to recover, and we have got to rebuild Puerto Rico, because those are my people. Those are your people. We're connected to those people. Those people are, largely of Spanish and African descent. Well, look.
I didn't know. I thought I was but it put me on punishment. So.
No, man. You know what? In fact, Lamont, in the spirit of unity, from me on the left to you on, I'm not quite certain. Jump in and speak on gun control.
Well, if you're on the left, then that means that you want to take away the guns, right?
I don't think that that's necessarily held by the left to take away your guns. But
I didn't say my guns. I said take away the guns.
Oh, I don't think that's necessarily the position held on the left, that we're going to take away the guns.
So how do you feel about gun control? I'll be honest with you. After today, and what I woke up to, what everyone else woke up to, I said to myself, I immediately thought about, you guys remember that movie back in it was 06. I think it was called what was it called? Smoking Aces. You remember that?
Smoking Aces.
You remember? I remember
Jeremy Piven, Alicia Keys. Yep.
Common was in it. And you remember the part in there where the guy? Well, no, Taraji B. Henson was like
Taraji P. Henson. She was up in the hotel firing across.
Yeah. And I said to myself, man, that's a lot of firepower. And then here we are, 11 years later, and we seeing that thing acted out for real on TV. And I'm sitting up here like, you start doing some of the math, and this was early because the numbers have gone up now, and unfortunately, by the time this podcast hits hits around the world, unfortunately, they're projecting that the fatality rate is going to go up. And it's like, what kind of firearms did you have that you were able to hit over 500 people?
Well, and let's just try to be careful on this for a second.
Okay.
There are over 500 injuries. Not all of those people are injured due to gunshots. There's obviously a lot of trampling and people falling and that kind of thing too.
Okay, so let's cut the number in half. Let's just say 250 people. I mean, what are we doing with that, man? We're not shooting any deer with that. We're not shooting any bears with a gun that does all that, man. It's almost like I might be on to the point like, yo, man, some of that stuff we don't need to be selling all that for what?
I agree, and Lamont. In addition to that, man, the reports right now say my man had 19 rifles, 19 of them in the room that he was firing from. Nobody is checking. A dude has 19 rifles. Nobody is saying, excuse me, sir, hell, when I get a coupon in the newspaper to go buy bread at the grocery store, they say 2 per customer. I mean, 19 rifles?
Listen, I get it. And I don't know, because I caught a few of my friends in Vegas and they talked about how, it's the Wild Wild West out there in terms of, Nevada is an open carry state. They believe in their guns. Even one of my friends, he wasn't there, but he said, Lamont, that was a country and western festival. He said there were plenty of guns that were there, of people who were there that were enjoying the concert. You know what I mean? And he was like, that might have been one of the reasons why he was up, at an elevated position, because he knew if he tried to do that, down low, they would have got to him really quickly. You know what I mean? And we're not talking about the police. But again, I'm just, once you process all of that happened, I think I might be on the bandwagon. Like, yo, man, we need to stop selling some of these guns. For real.
I agree, and there are a couple of tricks. At least let's start with these pieces on gun control. We can't currently, keep kind of a database, if you will, or a registry of all weapons. That's, that is forbidden by the NRA, but by law, influenced by the NRA, that's not what we're doing. So as a result, there should have been there should have been some kind of bell that went off when one person purchased 3 weapons in the span of 12 months or so. And he was firing 30-round clips and just reloading them. So if you have hundreds of rounds, hundreds is what they say. I mean, there should have been some kind of warning light that went off saying, wait a minute, this guy has 19 rifles and several handguns and, some 600 or 700 pounds of ammunition. We might want to look into that. That's A. B, he was able to purchase a modification for his weapons to make them fully automatic. That should send off. That should not be legal. That should not be legal. So that should have sent off some kind of alarm of some sort. Like, yo, we can't have people out here modifying these weapons to make them fully automatic. That's a problem. So that's a gun control piece that we should, and this is short of taking guns away from anyone. I'm not talking about, we're going to take all the guns away. We're just going to say you can't have 19 rifles and 12 handguns. Who are you arming? You can't modify your weapons to become fully automatic weapons with some kit that you bought online legally.
So what's the answer, man? Because in that piece of paper that we revel so much in Washington D.C., it talks about having the right to bear arms, bro. So what do we do? Go in there with the eraser and just erase that part of it?
Well, I feel like a lot of people, I feel like we have to come up with something else. Gun control, we have to come up with something else. There are over 50 people who did die due to gunshots. We got to do something else. We got to do something else. And people act as if the Second Amendment that allows for the right to bear arms, like they act as if we haven't changed the Constitution in the past. They act as if we didn't erase the 3/5 of a man language from the Constitution. That they act as if we didn't take away the prohibition on alcohol, because that was in the Constitution. We got rid of that. So the Constitution and its amendments are what I was always taught in civics is a living and breathing document, so that a living and breathing document, so that it is meant to change. The concept of amending something means, we did this, we're going to amend it and change it and alter it from its original state. So why shouldn't we go back and revisit it and make some decisions on how we interpret it or change it to mean something different? Yeah, I want to give I want to give not a cactus, but an award, a not even a pat on the back. I want to give a hero's honorary mention
to O.J. Simpson. The juice is loose.
Oh, no.
Listen, man, and OJ is so excited right now. And again, we shouldn't say this, but we got to keep it so 100.
Hey, man, LJ went to McDonald's, man. He was like, give me all the triple cheeseburgers you can give me.
But ain't nobody talking about OJ right now.
Right,
OJ
true. Is like happy.
He's like, listen, let me sneak out of here and do what I need to do while everybody is focused on the healing and the praying and trying to get everybody, safe and well, and they can leave me the hell alone.
Yeah, OJ is definitely flying under the radar. You ain't lied about that.
Before you give out your award and your cactus, we have not talked about the kneeling and all that other stuff. So Lamont, I mean, you're not protesting football. You're not down with Colin Kaepernick. Well, you're not down with the struggle, son. You're not down with the struggle.
I mean, the Lions got that W, man.
The Lions got the W. But how did you feel?
You're not down with Kaepernick, though?
No. How do you? What is your thoughts on Ford's proposition to the players on kneeling?
I mean, I thought, first of all, Martha, I'm glad she woke up because you normally sleep by like 2:30 in the afternoon. So for her to address the team and even say that, I just think, just like with some people who believe the concept that they have colder ice than brown people have in their homes, she's going to throw a little money at it. And when I say a little money, because again, this is Martha Ford. This is part of the Ford family. All of those F-150 truck drivers out there and people who used to drive little Escorts. They didn't make those things anymore, the little Tauruses and all that. They have money. So for Martha to go throw a couple $1 million at something to make sure that all of her football players don't kneel, she's like, okay, that's cool. That's a pretty good investment for me. So she just throw a little money at it. A couple of players are going to put it in some of their programs to help some of the inner city youth, which, again, they need it, and they'll move on. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I just feel like
that's not disrespectful, though? That's not disrespectful?
Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. Yes. But I just don't see the end game of us making someone hire Colin Kaepernick. It's not going to happen.
Well, see, this is the thing, and I think we missed
the window.
No, I think we missed some of the higher meanings, not higher as an HIRE, but higher meanings.
But
and
I thought that's what it was about. We were going to get on both knees like Ray Lewis and pray that someone was going to hire him and give him a job.
No one ever said that. No one ever said that. I'm standing with Colin Kaepernick. I'm behind him. I'm supporting him, much like Jay-Z is. I might not be able to send him the money that Jay-Z can send him. I know I can't, but I support what he's doing. And this is a month of October that's for two things. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month and it's Domestic Awareness Month. And I think what Colin Kaepernick was doing was saying, this is my protest. And ultimately, talking about genius, the genius of it is it really is not. Colin Kaepernick didn't have to say, this is what I want you to do to support me, or that was been something that you guys have been asking me. What does Colin want? You know what? It's awareness. At this point, it's just that's all we need is awareness. And it caught on like wildfire because Jerry Jones a week ago came out, or not a week ago, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I wish one of my players would, and they're going to be benched and maybe even fired and so on and so forth. And then what happened? He got checked. He looked around the locker room. He saw that 70% of his team were black men. And he was like, yo, I can't have a mutiny. If I lose 70% of this team, I ain't got a team to put on the field. So I need to respect him. And what did he do? It was a compromise, but what did he do? He kneeled. That's the power when black men decide to stand together. That's the power that they can wield. And nobody lost a job in the past 2 weeks of all this kneeling going on.
Man, can I ask you a question?
Sir.
I want to make sure. Was it 1974? There was an NFL strike. You remember that?
I was 3, so
that's okay. It's okay, but you probably, you watch ESPN. So all of that. Not that I was saying that there would be some sort of strike, but in my mind, and I could be totally wrong. I don't think Jerry Jones got checked. I think, and I forgot about this too, because I remember reading this, how, some of this other stuff is a little bit personal, I think, especially with Donald and the NFL, because I forgot about the history of Donald, how Donald is banned from the NFL. He's not allowed to participate or be in any stadium, anything to do with the NFL, because he sued the NFL. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
I forgot about that too.
He had the USL. He won $1.
Yeah. He won. So we got a lot of egos that's going on. So with the whole Jerry and Donald and this and that, I feel like that might have been something between Donald and Jerry. I don't know if it was about the whole Colin and, I mutiny and my players are going to play, because I believe Jerry Jones is the type of owner that say, you know what, I'm going to fire all you SOBs and I'm going to get some new players. I believe he would do that. And that's just me. I believe he would.
My dude, we already know. So let's just say that's not even possible because
you never know. You never know.
The best players that are available probably won't fill his roster. A, B, he's got some of the best players in the NFL. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, rushing title last season. You probably aren't going to find a whole lot of available running backs better than him. Dak Prescott, a leading quarterback last season. I don't know who's available that's going to be better than Dak Prescott. Dez Bryant needs to get his game up right now, but Dez Bryant probably would start on 31 teams in the NFL right now. If he got traded to anywhere, he'd start on 31 teams. So there's not a whole lot of people out there better than him. So if he, you look around and you say, I'm going to fire all of y'all. He's going to be hiring cats that, are going to be coming out of the Arena Football League and, working at the, doing Kurt Warner. I mean, Kurt Warner was amazing because he was working at a grocery store and when the Rams picked him up. So it's possible that one or two great players are out there waiting for a job. But the idea that you're going to find enough, if a team is 53 men and 70% of that is like 30 something. Yeah, you're gonna have to find 30 players? Nah.
Well, I think that to Lamont's point, you're right, Maynard, in what you're saying. But to Lamont's point, I think that Jerry Jones, of principle, would probably be like, forget all y'all. I ain't about to deal with all this other drama.
But did Jerry Jones kneel? Did Jerry Jones kneel?
Did. Oh, and let me go back to that. Yeah, let me go back to that. Here is the unfortunate part, in my opinion, is that. And again, I thought I heard Lamont say it, and I don't know if I heard you say it or not, Maynard, but the end game of this situation is the problem to me. Because now we're at a confusion of what this thing is really all about, right?
That's true.
At the end of the day, Colin Kaepernick said, I am not going to stand to show pride for a flag in a country that oppresses black people, people of color. It's bigger than football. Bodies are in the street. People getting paid for, leave and all that other stuff. And so now Donald Trump and others, and his base basically have turned this situation into something that it's really not. And the kneeling part of it is fine. That's great awareness. And that, to what your point was, Maynard, that's a win for Colin Kaepernick because that's what he wanted, which was awareness, right? There's bodies in the streets of black men and police officers are getting paid leave to shoot and get off. Now, in my opinion, what's unfortunate is that to Martha Ford's point, to Jerry Jones's, not Martha Ford's point, to Martha Ford's donating and Jerry Jones is kneeling and everybody else that's kneeling, it doesn't fix the problem. Take those resources, Martha, and bring awareness to the things that Colin Kaepernick is fighting for and sitting out for. Not that you can write a check and give it to some charities of your players' foundation so they can go back to work. No. Take this time to address the issue. Jerry Jones, sit down with your players and understand how they feel about their kids may not be able to come home because they get, well, probably not their kids, but you get my point, because their kids are, or whatever, what's his name, Michael Bennett? Was it Mike, or is it Matthew Bennett? The boy in Vegas. Nobody knows?
Who?
The guy he plays for Seattle, who got during the Floyd Mayweather fight.
Yeah. When the police,
right.
thought he robbed somebody.
Right, Michael Bennett, right. So take this time and use your power to be able to address the police and the things that are going on in the black community. Because sadly to say, I'm standing with Colin Kaepernick. But again, this thing has become bigger than football. But the kneeling, did Ray Lewis kneel this week? Or I'm sorry, did he pray this week?
Did he pray this week?
Did he pray this week?
Lamar didn't give me a full W, but Ray gave a double kneel.
Man, listen, Spud. And I hear you, but I want to put this bit of trivia out there. Martha Ford is 92 years old.
It don't matter.
Listen,
it don't matter. She got a son.
Can I tell you
Don't she got sons?
No. Martha is knocking on heaven's door. Okay? Martha's mother owned slaves, bro. Martha don't give a damn about kneeling, Colin, police. She don't care about none of that. She want to keep them hot dogs hot and keep them cold beers cold. Keep selling them F-150s until she check up out of here, bro.
So, but we listen though, Lamar, and we've seen this. And what Martha has done or not done has not risen to this level. But we've seen it when you hit them in their pocket, because there was a man who owned a basketball franchise and had some kind of crazy sideways words to say, and then all of a sudden the NBA said, "Nope, we're not standing for this. You got to go," and that largely was due to players who said, "I won't play for you." Now,
Maynard, he came up. We cannot keep using that scenario where he sold a basketball team
$2 billion
that was worth peanuts when he bought it, and was it $2 billion?
$2 billion.
So,
but
who's the fool?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go into that portion, but I'll say this. We recognize when the players who largely, most often are black, decide to stand together, that change can happen in sports. It was Curtis Flood who made it that free agency be legal. Prior to Curtis Flood, a black man in baseball, prior to that, you were essentially the property of the team, and you had no say or right to if you could play, when you could play, who you could play for. He fought for free agency. He changed the game. It's players, when they recognize their full power and potential and the potential of that power, that can make changes. Do you know that Donald Trump contacted Jerry Jones for no fewer than 4 times, begging him not to allow his players to kneel? Donald Trump called Jerry Jones 4 times, at least. And what happened? Jerry Jones was like, "Donald, God bless you. I hope that you do a good job with Puerto Rico. My players are going to kneel this week, and I'm going to kneel with them." When just a week prior to that, Jerry Jones was like, "No, they're not going to kneel." But when
I don't believe Jerry was kneeling based upon the cause.
Which is the problem, which is my point.
Hold on. Exactly. But the thing is, it doesn't matter if Jerry was kneeling because of the cause, the Colin Kaepernick's cause, but the idea that he was so adamantly against kneeling, and his players were like, "Hey, yo, you might not believe it, but you might not believe this, but this is what we believe. And if you want this to go the right way for us this weekend and go out there and play our hardest,
right,
you're going to have to stand with us."
What? But Maynard, but wasn't that
kneel with us?
But
and
wasn't that?
And he.
But
did.
was it that, or was it more of the?
What changed that man's mind?
Hold on. It wasn't that, right? The players and the kneeling and all that other stuff, or was it more to the if I don't, I'm going to look stupid because every other NFL team has now kneeled and locked in solidarity based off of Donald Trump calling NFL players sons of bitches. Was it more of Jerry Jones saying, politically, I have to do this to go against the president, or am I really standing by my players? Because I don't think he's really standing by his players. Because if that's the case,
but you know what, though, Spud?
3 weeks from now, he'll still be kneeling.
You know what, though, Spud? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. The reason doesn't matter, and this is why. You know, Bull Connor and George Wallace and so many other Southern governors, mayors, and sheriffs were comfortable sicking dogs and turning water hoses and beating blacks in the streets in the 50s and the 60s, in the 40s as well. And then when when
you might as well keep going, man. I mean,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean,
That's true.
Hell, that ain't stop Playboy.
No, but what happened was, and they were beating black people in the streets en masse. 60, 70 black people just trying to walk down the street, and they beat them. And then when that went on live TV, they may not have decided they were going to change the way they felt about black people, but when they realized that, and America realized, John F. Kennedy and LBJ realized, hey man, this is an embarrassment. We look like buffoons and idiots on the world stage. We are America. We're the great experiment, and we're beating people for walking down the street. We're hitting them with clubs and water hoses and sicking dogs on them because they want to sit. That image changed everything. So what I think I heard you say is, did Jerry Jones not want to look stupid? Well, if that's his only motivation, fine. But that not looking stupid changed a lot in America.
I agree with that.
The way,
and I agree with that. You're right. I'm just asking if it's a political stunt with Martha. If Martha is back up in the press, not the press box, in the VI owner's box or whatever, and now she's like, look, listen, y'all, I ain't gonna be coming down here with y'all Negroes every single week, locking in solidarity. Now let me give y'all, this money, and I'm gonna need y'all to stand. I'm going back up in this owner's box. Let everything, be cool. That's the same thing with Jerry Jones. Okay, cool. I did this for one good time, and now we back up at it. Because then it puts Colin Kaepernick's whole point of the real reason on why he started this mass protest in the first place to, okay, I did it here, and now it's over. Okay, y'all still complaining. Let me write y'all a check so y'all can be quiet so we can go back to, being slaves again. But go back to being the $40 million. What's that book? I just read some of it. $40 million Negroes, $40 million players. What it is.
So, but the thing is this. We know this. Martha Stewart's never been a
Martha Ford.
She's never been Martha Ford. Excuse me. She's never been an owner like an Al Davis or Jerry Jones or Bob Kraft or a Dan Snyder. These owners that are way out in front of their team and everybody recognizes and knows who they are. Jerry Jones is arguably, the most well-known franchise owner in American sports. So that's never been Martha Ford's role. And Jerry Jones doesn't have to go and kneel each week. He said, okay, I'm going to do it this week. And if you guys want to continue to do it, I'm okay with it. And if that's what he allows to happen, or if that's what he wants to happen, then the players and Colin Kaepernick have won. That he kneeled this week and said, I'm going to show solidarity. And if you all continue to do it, there is no penalty against you for doing that. That's a victory. If Martha Stewart says, I'm 90 some years of age, Martha Ford, excuse me, I'm sorry. If Martha Ford
would you just buy some sheets or something?
400 thread count, my dude. I can't afford to go up to 800, but so if Martha Ford decides, hey, you guys know I'm 90 plus years old. How old is she, Lamont?
92. She's
92 years old. We don't want her kneeling. We don't want her to kneel.
I really don't want her on the field. I really need her upstairs in her box, up in her little easy chair, relaxing.
And we don't necessarily need to have owners come out and kneel or be a part of this at all. Most owners, none of us on this phone can tell you, on this call can tell you who the owner is of the Kansas City Chiefs offhand. You can't just rattle off the top of your brain who's the owner of the New York Jets. So most of these owners, we don't care if they kneel or not kneel, or if they make statements. All we care is that the owners respect the players' First Amendment rights to do what they think is what's most important to them.
Okay. You've said it. Back to your cactus.
This is not a cactus. In fact, this is not a negative. This is a straight positive. This is yo, you are a star in my mind and in my book. This is a congratulations for having courage, for leading with dignity, and putting in the work. I saw this woman on TV going through a river of water up to her waist, helping to save people, helping to rescue people, checking on the residents of San Juan. Mayor Carmen Cruz came on with grace and pride and with emotion and passion and said, this is not a feel-good story. When people in the Trump administration said it was a feel-good story, the acting director of FEMA said that. She said, this is not a feel-good story. We have people down here dying. We need you. We need help. Politicizing this issue is not going to work. You're killing us with the bureaucracy. And her pride and her eloquent and elegant manner, she broke it down and said, yo, screw who, and I'm paraphrasing, but hell with me. Don't let this be about me. I got people here. San Juan is the most populous city on the island of Puerto Rico. Got 400,000 people here in just my city. There's 3.5 million people here. And she took all ego out of the way and said, I'm begging you. When a woman of that pride and that stature doesn't mind for her people to say, you know what, if I die, that's fine, but I'm begging you, save my people. Yo, salute. I salute that. I salute that. And I salute Puerto Rico. I'm down with the Puerto Ricans. Those are my people. We got to do something about it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out. Thank you so very much to Tiffany from bumpcology.com for joining us, as well as Jeff Dess and Lenny Williams from Trill or Not Trill. We truly appreciate you listening to this episode of Three Black Guys with the Mic. Thank you so very much for Wendy's as well as Bumpcology for sponsoring this episode. Join in on the conversation at facebook.com/Three Black Guys with the Mic. So that way you can be a part of the Three Black Guys with the Mic community. Just go to facebook.com/Three Black Guys with the Mic. And we'll be back again next Tuesday with another episode of Three Black Guys with the Mic.